Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Emiliana Molina, and I will be moderating today's event. On behalf of the whole Latin Trade team, I would like to congratulate our winners and express our gratitude to our speakers for sharing their wisdom with us. We will be having interpretation to Spanish. If you wish to activate it, at the bottom of your screen on Zoom, there is an icon that looks like planet Earth. You can click on it and select the language that you want to hear this meeting in. Let's start by hearing from Richard Burns, Latin Trade's chairman, with opening remarks. Richard Burns is a general partner of New York-based enterprise advisory firm Blackhall Ventures. An Oxford graduate, I think somebody might have their microphone on speaker. If you guys can turn it on mute for a few minutes. Mr. Burns is an Oxford graduate, and he has been an investor in a variety of media, financial, and technology enterprises. He was formerly president and CEO of Thomson Financial Media, president and CEO of Euromoney Publications America, and has served on a number of public and private boards, including Silvercrest, Asset Management, Interaudi Bank, the American Society, the American Museum of Natural History, and Carnegie Hall. Without further ado, welcome, Mr. Burns. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Emiliana, and nearly all of that was true. I am Richard Burns. I'm the chairman of Latin Trade, and we're extremely proud to have launched the Secure Americas initiative this year with our partners at Intel, Dell, Intelligent Security Systems, better known as ISS, and last but far from least, the Latin American and Caribbean division of the World Bank. The idea behind Secure Americas was and is quite simple: to gather leaders and senior officials to discuss innovation and share best practices in the critical area of citizen security across Latin America. COVID prevented us from gathering in person in 2021, so we joined together in private virtual roundtables, but we brought together ministers of state, governors, city mayors, secretaries of security, concession operators, managers of large mass transit systems, airline hubs and ports, together, of course, with technology experts. We all shared a common interest: finding ways to use technology to improve security in Latin American cities and townships. And we genuinely believe that the Secure Americas initiative has the potential to affect a profound impact, since citizen security has long been a primary concern to the population of the region. And it's hardly surprising. Latin America and the Caribbean remain the most violent regions in the world. With 13% of the world's population, it nevertheless represents 37% of its homicides, basically 4 times the world's average. And there's a cost to that, not just in human life. It's estimated that it's costing around 3.5% of the region's GDP every year. Through the year, we shared use cases, we shared best practices, experiences, plans, and ideas. And the result has been the development of a community of people that work every single day attempting to improve safety conditions for Latin Americans. And we hope and trust that this channel has facilitated communications and that it can foster coordination beyond national borders. Even as this event today marks the last in the 2021 series for Secure Americas, we know already that Secure Americas will be returning in 2022 again in a series, and hopefully we will be seeing each other in person. But it was really the only fitting culmination of this year's series was, we thought, to take some of the outstanding achievements that we heard about and that we wrote about and recognize them with awards, very specifically the Latin Trade Citizen Security Awards. And today you've joined us to honor 3 outstanding managers of technologies that make cities and regions safer. The Brazilian state of Ceará is a perfect example of the use of analytics to reduce crime. The Colombian city of Medellín is a fantastic case of the application of analytics on the edge. And finally, the Mexican city of Tlajomulco has for years been a pioneer in the application of new technologies to coordinate the actions of its police and emergency teams. So, congratulations to the winners. Huge thanks to our partners, and hello to all of you in the audience, who I am sure will enjoy the stories to come. And starting with Intel's Samir Sharma, one of the world's most authoritative voices on IoT and smart cities. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to hand it back to you, Emiliana.
Thank you so much, Richard. Our next speaker is Samir Sharma. He's a global general manager of IoT new markets at Intel Corporation and is fully focused on smart cities and intelligent transportation. Samir leads a global team that uses technology to keep cities viable, livable, and competitive at the global stage. He has helped the development of dozens of smart cities around the world, with solutions that oftentimes start with basic goals on safety and security, but that quickly evolve to intelligent transportation, AI plus video, air quality monitoring, and smart lighting. With solutions like these, local governments receive a fabulous amount of data that can be used to enhance the daily quality of life for citizens and to promote responsible practices to protect the environment. Samir has an MBA from Wharton and a master's in computer engineering from Rutgers University. He holds 11 patents in the areas of IoT and mobile. So welcome, Samir. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you, Emiliana and Richard. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you virtually. And as Richard said, I am looking forward to the day where we can be in the room with face-to-face with each other, talking about these rather important topics that affect the quality of life for every human on this planet. Let me start by congratulating all the winners. I think these are great examples of public-private partnerships, but also a variety of companies in the ecosystem coming together. Because, as I often say, it takes a village to build a smart city. This work is too important for one company or one group to try and do it all. It requires us to pool our resources together and work in a collaborative way. On the technology side, it is our firm belief that these systems have to be based on open standards and have to be interoperable with each other. Emiliana talked about my role covering cities globally for Intel. It's a privilege to be able to work with people all over the world, cities all over the world from different cultures, and look at best practices that are being successful in different parts of the world. So over the next 10 minutes, let me zoom out a little bit and share my thoughts on what I've seen happen in this space internationally, and how the last 2 years, in a very strange way, despite all the challenges of COVID and the medical impact and the health impact, have actually been an accelerant for adoption of some of these technologies. In fact, I would say COVID has converted years of debate into months of action. So to me, that's the silver lining to this cloud, this stormy cloud. that is still sort of hovering over us. So let's start with what are the common themes that we see cities talk about when we talk about this from a global perspective. And it's important to think about these themes because for whatever solutions we develop, we want to make sure they are hyper customized to the needs of that particular city or region. At the same time, we do have to find scale because scale helps us reduce the cost. Scale helps us accelerate the adoption of these technologies. And frankly, scale also helps us influence the policy and regulatory framework that is so essential to adoption of these technologies and use cases. So the three common themes that I hear, irrespective of which part of the world I am in, are public safety, mobility, and sustainability. And public safety tends to evoke thoughts about reducing crime. Yes, that's part of it, but it's also a term that reflects the psychological safety that our citizens need to feel. They need to be safe, and our statistics should reflect that, but they also need to feel safe, which is important to convey to our citizens that they can go about their daily lives without any threat to their safety. On the mobility side, we talk about things like traffic management, electronic toll control, parking, reducing fatalities. And by the way, a big element of mobility is also around safety. These systems have to help us stay safe. On the sustainability front, we think about use cases like air quality monitoring, flood water management, efficient and sustainable garbage collection and processing, and so on and so forth. And so you can imagine under each of these buckets, there are multiple partners, multiple use cases that we work with our partners, we work with the ecosystem to make them real. And then we also work with agencies like Latin Trade, but also governments and transportation agencies to make sure that the regulatory framework, the policy framework, the funding situation is all conducive to rapid adoption of these technologies and rapid scaling of these technologies. And I cannot thank enough our partners like Dell and ISS, who are our co-travelers in this journey. There is one more important aspect around safety I want to highlight, right? I talked about these three buckets, but safety is a concept that spans across these. So for example, if you look at a traffic intersection, at least in the US, these stats are for the US and probably reflective of what's happening in the rest of the world. Half of accidents and a quarter of the fatalities happen at traffic intersections. And intuitively, that should not be a surprise. That's where traffic going in different directions tends to intersect. That's where we see congestion. That's where, frankly, we see people getting impatient because traffic is backed up and they're trying to get to some place on time. If you think about sustainability, it's really about the long-term safety of our cities and citizens. If we cannot ensure clean water, clean air, if we cannot ensure protection from issues like flood water management, we cannot really claim to have safety for people in our cities. How do we get there? What is Intel's view as we look at this rather complex problem? Because we are coming at this more from a technology front, starting with the pain points, the top use cases, then working backwards to say, what can we do to lean in and help? We tend to look at this more from a data and data analytics perspective. It's very early in the morning for me here in San Francisco Bay Area, and I was grabbing a cup of coffee. And I thought about an example that I would like to share with you. If that cup of coffee that I just had is 1 gigabyte of data, which is how we think about memory on our smartphone, capacity on our laptops and so on, we will be generating 16.5 zettabytes of data, new data this year globally in cities. Safety cameras, traffic cameras, multiple sensors. You can imagine the use cases. That is enough coffee to fill up the entire Great Wall of China multiple times over. And that's just the new amount of data we are adding to this multi-layered cake. And each layer is getting thicker than the previous one. So all the traditional approaches on how to manage data, how to extract intelligence out of it, how to act on that and complete the loop, where we have data, insights, actions, impact, and back to the data. Our traditional approaches will fall short. We are already in the middle of this data tsunami that's overwhelming us. So we need a more intelligent approach. And our belief is edge AI, artificial intelligence deployed where the action is, whether it's a traffic camera, a safety camera, whether it's sensor for parking, an intelligent network that adapts to the need of how data is flowing through it, and ever-growing capacity in the cloud need to come together. So this has to be a case of 1 + 1 + 1 equals 111. And that's the synergistic approach we need to take. Because classic legacy approaches, we already know will not work. And I am here to tell you, this is not a 2030, a 2050, a 2070 projection. This is what's happening today. But rather than think of this as a challenge, I think of this as an opportunity, because every challenge and every opportunity are two sides of the same coin. And it's an opportunity for partners in the ecosystem, for the governments to work together and say, how can we lean in? How can we make sure the environment is conducive for some of these technologies to be scaled? One of the other exciting developments that's happening is we are starting to think about urban planning in medium and long term instead of just the short-term reactive approach that tends to characterize the approach of the past. And one of the most powerful concepts is this notion of digital twin. So everything physical in our world, whether it's roads, whether it's cars, whether it's public transit, will have an equivalent digital representation that you can look at, analyze, and try to understand what happens if I build an extra 1,000 houses. Do I really need to create 2 more lanes on this highway, or can I more efficiently use what I have today, the physical infrastructure, and create capacity? Because the objective is not to keep building roads and lanes and highways. The objective is to get people and goods from point A to point B. And if that can be better accomplished with the existing infrastructure, why shouldn't we take that approach? So this notion of digital twin and its benefit in terms of urban planning is gaining a big amount of traction. Very frequently, when we look at the scale of challenge in front of us, it's easy to get overwhelmed. And so my advice to our partners, to the end customers, is always think big, start small, move fast. We have to think big because we are going to be positively impacting every life in that city and hopefully over time, every life on this planet. So we have to have that vision of where are we trying to take a particular city and how are we going to address the top pain points for citizens in that city. But then start small. Don't try to overwhelm yourself by taking on too much on day 0. Why? Because success in smaller chunks builds credibility, and it builds credibility with the most important stakeholder in a city, which is the citizens. So we have to keep them at the center of it all and make sure that we are building credibility with them. And as we do that, you will find citizens tend to become a big supporter, a big backer of these initiatives. And that'll help you achieve bigger and bolder things. I'm going to wrap up my time here today with a simple quote from Nelson Mandela. And I think the power of this quote lies in its simplicity. It is always impossible until it gets done. So when we look at what we're trying to accomplish, it may look like mission impossible, but I'm confident that together we can get it done. Thank you, and back to Emiliana and Richard.
Samir, thank you so much for those vivid examples as well that paint a very clear picture. And I do agree that it is by unifying our resources where we find common ground to succeed. Thank you, Samir. And now for the awards. In Latin trade, we believe that the security of citizens is a vital element for the promotion of economic growth. It is a basic condition for investment, both domestic and foreign. The technological infrastructure used to build safer societies can also be used to build smarter cities. We believe the promotion of citizen security is a basic requisite to unleash the potential of cities and regions. It is the best way to have Latin America profit from its grossly underexploited advantage of being the most urbanized region in the planet. We will now recognize this year's winners. Each awardee will have about 3 to 5 minutes to describe some of the great work that they do and their upcoming projects. The 2021 winners in 3 categories were selected by an editorial board of undisputed experts in the field, who evaluated projects from all of Latin America and the Caribbean. Let's start with the first category. Usage of analytics for crime reduction, and the winner is in the state of Ceará in Brazil. The editorial board selected Ceará because of its geographic reach that went beyond a single city. Also, because of the spectacular decrease in some forms of crime, like car theft, when license plate recognition systems with analytics was in place. The board also highlighted decentralization. This multi-city structure does not allow for a single person or a small group to control the system and to build bureaucratic structures around this control. Representing the state of Ceará, we have with us today Samuel Elaino de Oliveira Jr., Executive Secretary for Public Security and Social Defense. Congratulations, Mr. Samuel.
Bom dia a todos. Em nome da Secretaria de Segurança Pública do Estado do Ceará, representando o Dr. Sandro Luciano Carão de Moraes e o governo do Estado do Ceará, agradecemos, essa premiação, essa congratulação aí, que é extremamente importante para todos nós que atuamos na área de segurança pública. Ficamos lisonjeados, em poder participar, estar à frente de tamanhas pessoas importantes aqui nesse evento. E, mais uma vez, assim, estamos aqui cada vez mais nos dedicando à melhoria dos índices de criminalidade do Estado do Ceará, juntamente com apoio e parceria do governo do Estado do Ceará, que tem nos dado todo o apoio, tudo que nós precisamos para cada vez mais poder melhorar a atuação das polícias, da segurança pública do Estado do Ceará. E, mais uma vez, estamos sempre à disposição de todos vocês para ajudar, para receber críticas positivas, críticas negativas também, que isso nos ajudam a nos valorizar, cada vez mais melhorar a nossa atuação. E queremos cada vez mais, poder nos tornarmos exemplo na luta contra a criminalidade e assim poder ajudar outros estados, ou no Brasil, ou fora do Brasil, e cada vez mais poder agregar conhecimento na área de atuação da segurança pública. Então, mais uma vez, agradeço, nos colocamos à disposição e muito obrigado aí pelo reconhecimento, que é fruto de uma luta de todos e, em especial, do governo do Estado do Ceará. Forte abraço.
Obrigado, Samuel. Thank you. Our next award is for Edge Analytics Innovation. The winner is in the city of Medellín, Colombia. The decision of analyzing data right by the place where it is collected or on the edge, which would be the technical term, is well understood by many, but with few notable exceptions. It has not been implemented in large urban settings. The city of Medellín's pioneering move to analyze the data on edge reduced operation and communication costs and made the system more fault tolerant, since it does not require real-time communications and it is not reliant on a single piece of equipment to properly function. Medellín's information is also shared with other townships in what is known as the Valle de Aburrá region. Medellín has sent us a video thanking us for the award, and we want to share it with you. So congratulations, Medellín. And let's hear the video.
Mi nombre es José Gerardo Acevedo, secretario de Seguridad y Convivencia de la ciudad de Medellín. Este premio viene de una revista muy especializada de Latinoamérica y compara varias ciudades con una experiencia reconocida desde 1993. No juzga los resultados en seguridad, sino el desarrollo y la innovación para responder a esta clase de desafíos que son la seguridad y la convivencia de las ciudades. Medellín no es solo un ejemplo para el país. Somos referente a nivel internacional. Esta ciudad, que en los 90 fue la más violenta del mundo, entendió que no había futuro si no luchaba con las herramientas disponibles contra la criminalidad. Y así llevamos 30 años, con la obsesiva convicción de convertir esta ciudad de la más violenta a la más innovadora. Hoy tenemos los mejores indicativos en todos los delitos de impacto en los últimos 40 años. Todos tenemos un compromiso, articulando todas las herramientas disponibles y seguir siendo un ejemplo en la recuperación en América Latina. El Sistema Integrado de Emergencias y Seguridad para la Ciudad de Medellín, o 123, conocido en otros países como 911, está cumpliendo 10 años. Empezó con 400 cámaras dando respuesta en ese momento a la ciudad. Hoy tenemos 2.890 cámaras de última tecnología, 10 subsistemas, la integran 11 agencias y damos respuesta oportuna a lo que ocurra en la ciudad. El manejo de datos también ha sido fundamental y hemos sido pioneros. Tenemos un sistema integrado para la seguridad y la convivencia. Aporta información oportuna para la toma de decisiones, aporta información para las investigaciones. Por ello, en los últimos 5 años y consecutivamente hemos sido nominados a un premio de buenas prácticas en análisis delincuencial en el país de Chile. Por ello, Latin Trade describe como impresionante el desempeño de la ciudad en la creación y uso de datos para mejorar la seguridad ciudadana. Hemos progresado, nos falta mucho, pero tenemos la tecnología, tenemos la convicción y sabemos usar las herramientas de este siglo. Qué bueno recibir esta clase de premios y que sea reconocida la ciudad de Medellín por su progreso y su innovación y no por su violencia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you to Medellín for sending that wonderful video. And congratulations. And finally, Tech Pioneers. The winner is in the city of Tlajomulco, Mexico. It was one of the first cities in Latin America to implement a license plate recognition system. Tlajomulco soon reaped substantial benefits from recovery of stolen vehicles and from the reduction in this type of crime. It was the first city in the region to integrate video, license plate recognition, and behavioral analytics in one single space. This action strengthened the capability of its command center, C5. Finally, something that captured the editorial board's attention was the fact that the city hired local gamers for their C5 operation team. This brought a set of skills that expert gamers have. For instance, their concentration on screens for long periods of time, and their heightened sensitivity for out-of-pattern movements. Representing the city of Tlajomulco, Mexico, we have with us today Salvador Zamora Zamora, President-elect, Alcaldía de Tlajomulco de Zúñiga, Jalisco, Mexico. Congratulations, Mr. Zamora.
Gracias por la oportunidad. Estoy muy contento de conectarme en entrega de reconocimientos a ciudades que trabajan en materia de seguridad ciudadana. Por eso me da mucho gusto agradecer a Latin Trade que nos entrega este reconocimiento. Y la verdad es que lo hago con mucho gusto porque hemos trabajado muy fuerte para construir un modelo de seguridad que integra obviamente tecnología, donde participan los ciudadanos, que contempla un nuevo sistema operativo a través de nuestro centro de monitoreo inteligente y los resultados están a la vista. Qué bueno que instancias como esta que son de carácter internacional, pues nos pongan a la vanguardia en materia de seguridad ciudadana. Por eso me da muchísimo gusto. Es un tema que no lo decimos nosotros, sino que, bueno, es un reconocimiento que hacen ustedes a la labor que hacemos para mejorar la seguridad de la ciudad. De la misma manera, nosotros queremos poner a las órdenes de todos quienes nos están viendo esta tecnología y el sistema operativo que tenemos para mejorar la seguridad de nuestro municipio. Y por supuesto, pues agradecer a Let It Trade nuevamente, a todo su equipo editorial y de especialistas por habernos otorgado este premio. Una disculpa que me tomaron en la camioneta por una confusión de horario. Sin embargo, pues les agradezco muchísimo el reconocimiento y la participación en esta entrega de reconocimientos. Excelente día a todos.
Salvador, thank you very much. And thank you. We know you had a bit of connectivity issues, so thank you for making it to the awards ceremony. Congratulations to all of the recipients for the great work that you're doing and the role that you're playing to improve citizen security. Our closing remarks will be given by James Meakin, Senior Global Product Marketing Consultant on Edge Computing, Computer Vision, and Safety and Security from Dell Technologies. Dell is our partner and key champion in this event. So thank you, James, for your enthusiasm and for all of your support always. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for joining this call. It would obviously have been wonderful seeing everybody in person, but as everyone knows, that's still very difficult to do in the current environment. And so I'd really just like to say very much on behalf of Dell Technologies, Intel, and ISS, just how honored we are to have been part of Secure Americas. I know that my colleagues that have participated in the Roundtable series over the last several months have really gained some great insights across the region and have really learned so much. And as I think Samir was saying earlier, you know, we've seen in cities across the globe that citizen safety is really the foundation for economic growth. It's the basis from which economic growth can thrive. And cities that leverage edge and video analytics on top of their CCTV infrastructure are really able to improve not just that citizen safety, but also sustainability, commerce, operational efficiencies, and ultimately innovation. And all of the projects that were submitted for these awards, of which there were many, prove really just how innovation is transforming our cities across the globe. And they really are enabling those positive outcomes for the community at large. So I'd really just final thoughts. I'd very much like to congratulate the award winners and thank you very much, Latin Trade, for driving this initiative. It's been a very, very interesting time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. And being a native of Medellín, Colombia, I can definitely attest to what you just said. Citizen safety is definitely a key to assure prosperity within the city and, of course, every single citizen as well. So on behalf of Latin Trade, we thank you all for joining us and congratulations once again to all of the awardees. We look forward to holding this event in person in 2022. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us.